Hey guys, for today's video we're looking at the 2019 hit film Parasite. The film explores themes of meritocracy, classism and social mobility. Through the lens of a drama thriller, the director, Eun Jong-ho, tells the story of a lower-class family infiltrating the home of an upper-class family by working for them. Through plotting and failed plans, this results in a bloodbath, or the massacre. And that's the sequence I'll be analysing today. But first, let's zoom out and look at the bigger picture. Narrative structure, narrative conventions, and audiences. Overall, this film challenges the notion of meritocracy, classism, and social mobility. It rejects the idea that competition is good, as we see both of the lower-class families fighting each other, and ultimately this results in both of their downfalls. Now, onto the actual structure of the film. Bong Joon-ho utilizes the three-act structure to effectively engage his audience in the characters and the plot. This act consists of the setup, confrontation, and resolution. Each act in the three-act structure works together to make a satisfying, well-paced and rounded story. Act 1 is the setup. It gets you introduced to the characters, gets you hooked on the premise, and sets the characters on their journey with the inciting incident. They then get put past the point of no return and continue into the next act. Act 2, the confrontation. This act keeps you engaged by amping up the tension and suspense via obstacles and plot twists, then finally the release of tension via the climax. Act 3 gives us the resolution, where the story wraps up and settles down, giving the audience some closure, or ending on a cliffhanger, leaving the audience wanting more. By including the three-act structure, the story doesn't jump into anything too fast. It lets the audience settle in with the characters and hopefully become invested in them. So when the climax happens, they actually care about the outcome. This structure is perfect for suspense, payoff, and pacing. The audience is engaged by the suspense of the family in the basement and not knowing what they are plotting, leaving the audience in anticipation. What becomes of the blackmail? And prediction. The blackmail might get sent to the Park family and therefore get the Kims fired. This is why the climax of the film is as surprising as it is. It's the shock factor. No one expected the basement man coming up and stabbing Jessica, and they certainly didn't expect Mr. Kim stabbing Mr. Park. The massacre sequence sits at the climax of the film, the very end of Act 2, with the fallout going into the start of Act 3 for the resolution. This sequence serves a purpose to finally release the tension all of Act 2 had been building up. This plays out as a physical conflict between the three families, resulting in 3 deaths. Basement man killing Jessica, Mrs. Kim in turn impaling basement man, and finally Mr. Kim stabbing Mr. Park. This scene develops the characters by showing their breaking points. What led them to kill? Basement man was avenging his wife's death. Mrs. Kim was fighting back out of desperation and self-defense, and Mr. Park out of indignation. Reinforcing the idea that competition isn't beneficial, had the Kims and the basement family worked together to live in symbiosis, they both could have easily continued to leech off the Parks. But no, they are made to believe by society they should compete, and so they do. The basement family and the Kims will never escape poverty and move class. There will always be something there to drag them back down, no matter how hard they have been working. I think this scene did a good job in demonstrating the characters at the end of their ropes. It communicates Mr. Park's indifference to the Kim family and that the Kims will never be able to escape their class, that it's in their clothes, how they smell, how they're treated in the face of danger. It's alright if they're sacrificed. They're replaceable. They aren't anyone's priorities. In my opinion, this sequence is a satisfying release of tension because it shows where the characters' true loyalties lie as well as their beliefs. This is seen in everyone's response to the disruption in the birthday party. Who do they run to protect from the basement man? For example, Mr. Park and his car keys. His number one priority is Da-song. He doesn't bat an eye at Jessica bleeding out. He only cares about getting the keys from Mr. Kim. Now, let's look at the narrative conventions in this scene. Within the structure of the film, this scene sits the climax. This sequence is linear because there's no back and forth between past and present. This really immerses you in the current moment. From a storytelling point of view, the narrative progresses through the basement man escaping and throwing a wrench in the Kim's plans, or rather, a knife in Jessica's heart. In turn, revealing how truly unconcerned the upper class is with the lower class's suffering. They will always be less than in their eyes. They smell like garbage. Why not treat them as such? This elicits a strong reaction from Mr. Kim, pushing him to retaliate by stabbing Mr. Park. captivating the audience in the high stakes because they don't know what's going to happen in this moment of crisis. In terms of characters and development, this is a change in how the Kims react normally, which is why it's such a shocking moment. Typically, they make strategic plans to eliminate the obstacle, rather than resorting to physical violence. However, in mid to late Act 2, we do see them becoming more and more rough, because of their connection to the characters and the inherent shock value of someone getting stabbed. The audience interest should be at an all-time high. At this point in the story, all of the storylines have converged. The Parks, Kims, and the Basement family are all in the same place at the same time. Starting off in third person, the audience is situated as an observer. Then temporarily, we swap to the Basement man's perspective, until we permanently swap to Mr. Kim for the remaining scenes. Despite being positioned as Mr. Kim, there is no information hidden from the audience. As for the characters, the Park family have had the Basement family's existence hidden from them, so they don't know anything about what or why this disruption is happening. We call this dramatic irony. Withholding information from the characters but know your audience is a very engaging tactic because it encourages the viewer to feel suspense more intensely, as knowing something the characters don't gives them a sense of anxiety about what's to come. Active versus passive audiences. Being an active audience member means you're engaging consciously with the media product through reviews and criticism on apps like Letterboxd or IMDb, online content such as video essays or edits, or between people, like you talking to your friends about it. By investigating and digging deeper into the film, you will develop a different or more nuanced interpretation of this scene, because of the multiple different perspectives taken into consideration. In contrast to someone who watched it passively, maybe they put it on for some background noise, or they're on their phone whilst it's playing. Regardless, they would have read this scene at face value, that Mr. Kim didn't like being seen as having an odour, and that this movie was simply about infiltrating the Park's house. Now onto the best bit, codes and formal conventions. For this video, I'll only be going into two of the media codes, camera and mise-en-scène. Within this sequence, a lot of the shots utilise either the rule of thirds or position the subject dead centre, as seen in these snapshots. Shot on a digital camera, the aspect ratio is a 2:35:1 anamorphic cinemascope, which basically means it's wider and gives a more cinematic feel. This, paired with the fast-paced cutting and the whirling tracking shots of the party devolving into chaos, emphasises the confusion and intensity of the moment. Bong Joon-ho intentionally breaks the 180-degree rule here. Characters are placed on either side of the line and move about freely. This adds to the disorienting and frenzied nature of the scene. This is contrasted by the sudden stillness and slow motion shots woven throughout, another detail adding to the disarray. The sequence features several shot reverse shots, specifically accompanied by dialogue, such as the conversation about car keys. This is one of the most stationary moments in the whole sequence. The camera and actors are only moving minimally. In this scene, we are matched with their eyeline in a close-up shot with both Mr. Kim and Mr. Park. This is done in order to create a more intimate and intense moment for the audience. They are being put in the place of these characters. This is only exemplified by the shallow depth of focus, making Mr. Kim/Mr. Park the sole subjects in their respective shots. The prop weapons used in the fight consist of a kitchen knife, a skewer, and a hatchet. These are all items that the help would have access to. The knife and skewer from the kitchen and the hatchet for cutting wood. This specific choice of weapons made it all the more meaningful when Mr. Park is killed with it. In my interpretation, the knife represents the hard labour of the working class, their efforts used to provide for the rich, making them food in the case of kitchen work. To then have the same knife turn on them is a subversion of the norm. The costumes the Kims and the Basement men are wearing directly correspond to their role in the massacre. For Jessica, she is dressed in a white floral dress, connoting her innocence in unjust death, whereas Mrs. Kim is in a light grey, alluding to her morally grey actions, killing the Basement man out of self-defense. Then we get to Mr. Kim, dressed in dark grey for the murder of Mr. Park. And finally, the Basement man, dressed head to toe in all black, pertaining to his disruption of the party and the murder of Jessica. Though I do feel the need to mention the splash of white he has on him from the cake, possibly implying that his motivation was in the right place, just not the execution. Overall, the lower class families are dressed in a monochrome gradient that's in line with their moral standing. Light to dark, good to bad, touching on the theme of objective morality and how not everything is black and white. Things deemed as bad can be justifiable in the right circumstances. The symbol of the keys also comes up. Keys themselves are symbols of freedom and mobility, but paired with the core idea of social mobility, the keys embody the Kims' chance of escaping poverty. First knocked down, and then literally squashed by others in the same situation, they are then taken away by those in the upper class, leaving them back at square one, much like the society they inhabit. Okay, hopefully I brought about new thoughts and ideas surrounding Parasite. Continue to engage deeper with the media you consume, and thank you so much for watching. I'll catch you in the next one.